All right, so today we are going to be talking about the endocrine system. So the endocrine system is the body's slow but sure messenger system. So neurotransmitters, which we were talking about the nervous system, and we have the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system, autonomic nervous system, somatic nervous system, then, off the autonomic, the sympathetic and parasympathetic. For the endocrine system, it's slow. Okay, so while the nervous system deals with neurotransmitters, the endocrine system deals with hormones. Okay, so when we talk about the endocrine system, we're talking about a set of glands that produce chemical messengers called hormones. They're slow, not fast like the nervous system, not, super speedy, bam, bam, bam. Very kind of slow. A lot of them are age related when things start to turn on and turn off. Okay, so if we take a look, we can, oh, other thing, I guess, to mention is that the endocrine system goes through the bloodstream, while the nervous system, while the neurotransmitters and the nervous system go through the synapses that make up our neurons. And then again, hormones, various glands. So what are these glands? Well, we can see the hypothalamus, which is in our brain. Okay, and then the pituitary gland, the master gland. Okay, so the hypothalamus kind of controls the pituitary. The pituitary is the gland that secretes many hormones and kind of triggers the other hormones and says turn on, turn off, and tells the other glands what to do. Okay, then in our neck right here we have our thyroid gland, and this is largely to do with metabolism and other things, among other things, but metabolism is kind of the primary one there. The parathyroids, which are surrounding it, help regulate the level of calcium in the blood, which obviously is an important thing. Then our adrenal glands, which sit right on top of our kidney, they're kind of like kidney caps. This is what is the fight or flight response. So the adrenal glands help trigger the sympathetic nervous system when the sympathetic nervous system kind of activates. The pancreas, which regulates the level of sugar in the blood, and again, goes along with the sympathetic nervous system, because when the sympathetic nervous system fires, the pancreas can help regulate the blood sugar to make sure that we have enough blood sugar to give us that little burst of energy. And then we have our primary sex characteristics, the testes and the ovaries, which again, these don't do anything until puberty, but they greatly affect us from that point on. So the adrenal glands, which are some of the most important pieces in terms of behavior of our endocrine system, again, they sit right on top of our kidneys. Okay, and in the sympathetic fight or flight nervous system, responds to stress by sending a message to the adrenal glands, which release the hormones. Okay, those hormones are adrenaline, epinephrine, noradrenaline, and norepinephrine, and also cortisol. Cortisol is a stress hormone. And when we talk about stress, we're going to revisit cortisol and some of the negative effects that long-term cortisol can actually have. And what do? Well, they increase our heart rate, our blood pressure, and our blood sugar. All of these things provide energy for the fight or flight. So the adrenal glands are the part of the endocrine system that are most, closely correlated to the nervous system, the sympathetic nervous system. Now, the pituitary gland is also very important. It's the master gland of the nervous system. Okay, and it's controlled by the nervous system in the area of the brain called the hypothalamus. Okay, so the hypothalamus controls the pituitary gland, and the pituitary gland is the master gland of the endocrine system. Okay, it produces hormones that regulate all the other glands, such as the thyroid, as well as activates menses in females. It tells the body it's ready, and other, kind of activates the other sex characteristics in humans as well. And it produces the growth hormone. Okay, so human growth hormone comes from the pituitary gland, and this happens especially during sleep. That it secretes this and tells our body to grow and tells our body, that it's time for us to mature. Okay, it also produces oxytocin, which is the bonding hormone. So, and this is the one that allows us to bond like mothers and children. The reason why hugs feel so good is because whenever you have physical contact, wanted physical contact with another person, you get the oxytocin, that feel good hormone, which allows us to bond. So oxytocin is an important one. And again, we're going to revisit oxytocin later when we start to talk about attraction and other motivational concepts. All right, so that's pretty much it for the endocrine system. So take home message of the endocrine system, slow moving hormones through the bloodstream. Okay, now the important ones to really understand obviously are the adrenal glands, the kidney caps, let's go back to that. Okay, the adrenal glands, which produce adrenaline, norepinephrine, noradrenaline, and norepinephrine. Okay, and these are fight or flight, very related to our fight or flight responses. And then the pituitary gland, which is the master gland of the endocrine system, but is controlled by the hypothalamus.